In this video, I'm going to be philosophizing on the origins of ideology that tend to originate from ill definitions of God and a lack of being able to well define the as a must, good enough, and necessarily necessary conditions, properties that are most meaningful to be able to constitute knowledge that's objective rather than pertains to purely subjective and otherwise mental illness processes of the mind and mind-body, because we have to be able to process truth in regards to something that's at least ground to the groundness of meaningful information in which we can conduct valid, psychologically true, and meaningful perception, action, behavior, free agency conducts within the freedoms thinking of our creative capacities. And often if you have ill-defined words to mind and you can't composition meaningful utterances of thought, then you're susceptible to the whim of others' ideology and ideological possession of you, and you have less ownership over the streams of thought through consciousness that regard the meaningful utterances of thought as you're processing them. And so if you subjugate yourself as a result of a belief in something that is ill-defined, in which you can let somebody dictate to you what that means, and which has no consistent meaning across different intermissions of encounter with that individual, then you are susceptible to their whim and ideological possession. And this is the dangers of holding on to any sort of term, but which originates from certain words that are directed, the most centralizing being God, because God is ill-defined and requires a well-defined definition that's not vague, and it can't be vague, and it needs to require certain meaningful properties for us to be able to comprehend and understand and develop wisdom in regards to. Where, in contrast to that, self-virtue is something I can engage a prior existing, well-defined, as a must, good enough, and necessary conditions, meaningful properties exist. And an example would be that strengths an individual can encounter within their direct perceptions, and to build on positives within the experience, increasing the self-virtues of abundance, we can develop on positivities, intrinsic, innermost, direct perceptions, develop the maintenance of thought, and also to be able to increase the sustainability of meaning processes as we're engaging and cultivating those positivities from within. Allowancing meaningful emotion to develop, and not just develop, to be maintained and sustained, and at its optimums, optimistic optimizers optimizing, increasing the capacity to not just develop and maintain, but psychologically sustain meaning processes and meaningful information processes, allowing us to increase our knowledgeability and capacity to engage meaningfully with the self and surrounds, and create more meaningful connections to the external surroundings. And that includes being able to engage directly in various environments of our aptitude and aspiration, in which we have greater environmental mastery over by developing masterfulness within a particular direct perception task association that we develop through self-directed learning. Optimized learning is optimized as we can increase access to knowledge with regards to what's well defined. That's all I want to say for this video. I hope you have an awesome one. Bye.